Take, I interviewed people from different perspectives on that video. So Connor Knapp, big Tennessee guy, Barstool guy, JD Piquel, national guy, and then Ben Bolch, who, when I did work for SiriusXM, he was as dialed as anyone with UCLA football, still is. And so got all three of their different perspectives and then making it into a montage video. And I think it's really good. We got video on Saturday about how Lincoln Riley is, or wait, Saturday's video is about the Spring King, Luis Perez. If you don't know his story, I had posted a little short form video on it. That was fun. And then Tuesday's video will be about how Lincoln Riley's strategy and roster building strategy has completely changed for USC. And I dove in deep with some beat writers that are dialed, and it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Panoy, appreciate you, boy. There's always like a pocket of few people that make a couple Washington references, which I appreciate. Those of you on YouTube, we're one strong right now on YouTube. Appreciate you, whoever that one person is. There we go. Anna, hi there, Max. I'm a Skyline alum. I remember seeing your banners. Appreciate that, Anna. That's great memories. Great memories. We got that weight room banner dialed. AB Beast Potato saying Lake Stevens over Skyline. I literally talked with Jacob Eason a couple of weeks ago. I got a video talking about what new content I got coming out. Got a video coming out. Probably save it. It's got more work to do, so probably coming out in July about like the hidden life of a backup quarterback. So I talked about Eason there, and then how to actually develop a quarterback. So yeah, Eason lives in Santa Monica, or lives in Venice. So right next to me, man. I've seen him at a couple events. Great dude. Favorite game that I've called in my broadcasting career. Ooh, two jump out. The first one I ever called was UAB versus Louisiana Tech. First game I ever called. No, it's random, right? We got Conference USA, or at the time, yeah, they're Conference USA. I think they've switched. But it was the very first game I called with Chris Hassel at La Tech, and it went into double OT, and it was like a phenomenal football game. Phenomenal football game. And it was just a blast. Like you talk about, having to commentate overtime rules and the back and forth as the first game that I called. It was dope. It was a good time. And Coach Holtz, his wife, gave us like little goodie bags of like snacks and candy, which was good memories. And the second one I called the UW fans. For those Northwest locals that are in the chat, they won't like this, but I called Montana's upset over UW, which was electric. I mean, that's like a top 10 upset in college football history. I don't think that's an exaggeration. Dead ass. I don't think it's an exaggeration. And so to be on the call for that game, that was electric. The quarterback leading Montana was like from one town over. So like I felt his energy and what that game meant for him, like beating the hometown school that didn't offer him and whatnot. So those two games stick out. Keith, appreciate you holding it down over on YouTube, man. Hottest take right now. What is the hottest take right now that I have? What's a juicy take I got for you guys? I wish I had something spicier, man. I just can't. I don't know if this is that hot, but I think this past draft was the weirdest quarterback draft class in history, period. I think when people sit with that, it's not as spicy as you think, but we were so wrong across the board on all the quarterbacks for the most part. And the collective football world, I think, took like a swing and miss outside of Cam Ward and maybe Jackson Dart. I think people were penciling him in as like a late first round guy, someone trade up on him. But for all the evaluation, for all the guys that had extra years of eligibility and tons of film and tons of just data on them, this past draft class was ridiculously, we were just way off with that. I got sidetracked because Jaime Toe, appreciate you. We got someone from the TikTok squad over to YouTube. Appreciate that, man. Hit that subscribe button. Coming out with a bunch of content there. 100% agree, Keith. I was high on Jackson Dart from the beginning, though. I was too, man. And hand up, I lost steam with that. I remember making a video how Jackson Dart was my Heisman dark horse in 2023. I thought there was a world where he had the year that Jaden Daniels had, and he was in that conversation. It took Jackson a long time to get rolling. But, I mean, I'm a USC guy. I remember the days people talking about him as, hey, he's on the fast track to be the next Sam Darnold. And, hey, both guys were first-round draft picks. If Jackson didn't have the goofy-ass turnovers, man, the weird turnovers, and I think it's a huge part of his NFL career, I think he would have been even higher than that. I think the turnovers was the big thing. AJ, what up, yo? Laura, what's going on? Tomlin got to go. Dude, I'm assuming you're a Steelers guy. I was just in Pittsburgh on Tuesday playing in the U.S. Open Creator Day at Oakmont, which was sick. Good time. I got a bunch of footage coming out, long-form video on that U.S. Open week. Steelers fans are funny, man. It feels like nationally everyone respects Tomlin. They're like, yo, you guys have one of the best coaches in the game. Why would you want to get away from that? But then Steelers fans are like, yo, he's got to go, which is just funny to me. I did not visit Oakland. I was literally there for 36 hours. I stayed downtown right across from PNC Park, popped over to Oakmont, 25-minute drive there. It's good. The course is a beast, man. I got a video coming out. Can I break 90? I'm an 11 handicap. Can I break 90 at the U.S. Open course? The hardest course in America. Don't think that's an exaggeration. I'm excited for that one. It'll be fun. Came down to the last hole. That's my my little hint for you guys. Came down to the last hole. Dude, this is so bad by me. Did I try the Oakmont Bakery? I was busy. We're all busy. I was running around. I didn't do a bunch of research like about Oakmont and the nuances, which is hand up, bad ball by me. But I've got that question so many times. Did you go to the Oakmont Bakery? Did you go to the bakery? I didn't. I only found out about it until like after the fact, which was kind of a bummer. Was the 2016 Bama defense the best you faced? They have you seeing things different. Without a doubt, it was the best defense I faced. People kind of forget about it, but I would say it's hands down a top 10 defense in college football history. There's been some big-time defenses since 2016. You know, that 0-1, Miami defense is big time. But you go back and it's 9 years later, there's probably 6 dudes on that defense 9 years later that are still starting in the National Football League, in addition to other guys that had very successful NFL careers. That defense was stupid, dude. Levi, what's up, man? Aiden, what's going on? Oliver, how we doing? The bad guy on YouTube. Will USC make the playoffs? As things currently stand, I do not think they make the playoffs. Could they make the playoffs? Yes. But they got a full step that they got to elevate on to reach the playoffs. I do think it'll be consistent that like 4 Big Ten teams will get in. Can they be that 3rd or 4th team? I think you got Ohio State, you got Oregon, you got Penn State. You know, Nebraska's going to be better. There's teams in Illinois. Where is Indiana at? Which saw a mock draft the other day about Fernando Mendoza. That's a good question. You asked about, hey, one of the favorite games that I called an absolute phenomenal, not my calling, but the game itself was great. Fernando Mendoza's first start. I was on the call for that. Now he's one of the best quarterbacks in college football. But I saw a mock draft about him being a first-round quarterback. Come on now. We can't be anointing people too early. I love Fernando Mendoza. He said he watches my content. So for some reason he's here. I got love for you. But you know the deal. He's got a full step to go to be a first-round NFL quarterback. Feel like we're doing something similar with Drew Aller. If it happened tomorrow, Drew Aller is a first-round quarterback for sure. But we're anointing dudes too quick. I'm calling BS on the whole. If Drew Aller was in this year's draft, the Cleveland Browns would have selected him at 2. Maybe the Cleveland Browns would have done that. And then they would have been right back drafting another quarterback at 3 if they had taken Drew Aller at 2. He's got another step to go. Can he get there? Sure. But he's not there yet. And we did the same thing with Carson Beck last year. We anointed him too early. We needed a guy. We're like, we had Caleb Williams the year before. We need a guy for next year. We did that with Carson Beck. We're doing the same thing with Drew Aller this year. He's got a big step to take to get to that point. Could he get there? Yes, but he's not there yet. AutoZone, appreciate you, man. What's the best NFL video game? Why is it NFL Blitz? It's not NFL Blitz. Sorry about it. It's NFL Street, Volume 3, I believe, where Ricky Williams is like the best player in the game. Give me Mike Vick at quarterback. Give me Ricky Williams at receiver. Go Randy Moss on the outside. Zach Thomas at linebacker. Ray Lewis at linebacker. NFL Street, and they need to make a new version of that. I'm not a video game guy, so maybe I don't think it's out there. NFL Street was the best video game, so I'm calling cap on that. Thoughts on the Cowboys trade? Weird trade. Weird not only that he lands with the Cowboys, weird not only from a draft compensation standpoint, but weird that you go and get DK Metcalf. No one was talking about, hey, you went and got DK Metcalf to replace Pickens. But then now that like makes sense, which then is funny internally for me because it's like, why did no one say that? No one said that because you don't want to be the hater that's like, yo, they got to ship his ass out of here. But now the DK trade kind of makes sense if the Steelers maybe were shopping Pickens in the background a little bit, and now they have their receiver, or they still have their receiver one, but then they let Pickens walk. And very interesting, like 3 years ahead for Pickens, because does he lock in and mature a little bit and, hey, have a healthy 8 more years in the NFL? Or we've seen this story before of guys tapering off and you kind of get behind the 8 ball of a new franchise and whatnot. So it's weird there. I like Colin Cowherd's take yesterday about how like Dak Prescott is a cooling presence just across the board when he's got a crazy owner and president he's playing for. He has tons of pressure with playing for the Cowboys. And then now, and he's had some louder-mouth receivers and personalities at receiver, but it's always like he's the calm one. There's like the Zeke Elliott dynamic too, but he's the calm one. I do think Dak is the perfect quarterback for that situation from a temperament standpoint. And the Cowboys, man, CeeDee Lamb, you go Pickens. That's a lethal 1-2 punch. Garrett Nussmeier, how do you feel? Go in depth. I think he is the GOAT. Ben, if you weren't on the live last week, I met Garrett Nussmeier when he was a second grader. Came to my high school's football camp. His dad was recruiting me. His dad was the first coach to ever offer me. So it's funny seeing the trajectory, and honestly makes me feel old. I love his game, and I would take him now over Drew Aller because I think he was asked to wear more responsibility last year in their offense. I think he makes more high-level throws than a Drew Aller does. Drew Aller's got the arm, don't get me wrong. But Nussmeier, man, dude, there were some drives last year where he's asked to throw balls into some tight windows, and he can ball. What I'm most excited about, LSU's run game was a struggle last year. I believe they had a running back transfer or get hurt, so that's not good. But assuming that their running game can get just a notch better or a couple notches better, where he doesn't have all the pressure on him, dude, Garrett Nussmeier could be an absolute baller. And it feels like, again, there's been a theme. Oop, that's a good content idea. Who asked that question? That's a good content idea. I'm writing the notes down. Sorry, I lost who asked that question because there's new comments. But every year, there's like an SEC quarterback that was like a good SEC quarterback and then takes the jump to be a great SEC quarterback. Saw it with Joe Burrow. Saw it with Jaden Daniels. Saw it with Jackson Dart to some degree. Who's that guy this year? It's no secret. I think a lot of people are projecting, Garrett Nussmeier to be that guy. But that trend of SEC quarterbacks where it's like, all right, you're good. We know about you. Take the next step. That could have been Nico, but he shipped off to the dark side, man. Shipped off to UCLA. On that note, just came out with a video I'm super proud of about Nico and that whole trade. I think it's a great video. Well worth the time. Got perspectives from different people. Go over on YouTube. Check it out. It's called The First Trade in College Football History. Make sure I don't lose that idea. What's your projection for Shedeur? I do think he'll beat out Dylan Gabriel. I just think he's a better quarterback. But I don't have a projection on when he'll get on the field. I think the Browns could sneakily make some plays with a veteran quarterback like Flacco there. I think Flacco starts, or maybe it's a Jameis Winston if the Giants, reshuffle their depth chart and trade Jameis over, and then keep an eye on that bye week of if the Browns aren't where they want to be, maybe they start Shedeur. SEC QB short form video. Shout out for the idea. Appreciate you guys. 53 strong on TikTok, 10 strong on YouTube. Appreciate you guys. Nick Dub, I know Winston's on the Giants. I'm saying if the Giants then go Russ as their starter and then they want to keep Jackson Dart on the active roster as the backup, you're not going to put Jameis Winston in the practice squad, which is actually funny. I don't know how the rules work, but Jameis Winston probably has practice squad like options. But I'm saying the Giants, there's a scenario where the Giants trade away Jameis Winston. And if you're the Browns, maybe you pick him up kind of thing. Go Tires. Lenore Sellers, man. I need to watch more tape of him. People are excited about him. I like it. Do you think the Big Ten expands with Utah? That's the first I'm hearing about that. I don't think so. Not right now. The one thing that people forget about all this is so much of it comes down to TV revenue and, where the tides are shifting from a population standpoint. Pretty sure after the pandemic, Salt Lake City was like one of the pockets in our country that was disproportionately growing quickly. Utah and their trajectory, not insignificant. Cam Rising, though. Shout out Cam Rising, man. What a story. He's obviously hanging him up. Scattaboo steal the draft. I don't necessarily disagree with you there. H2P, ZTM, appreciate you. Your feelings about SMU now and next season. Very bullish on SMU and their upside. Brand new facility. You lock in Rhett Lashley. I think he's one of the more underrated head coaches in college football. And then with the NIL side for SMU, I think it's sustainable. I don't think it's a one-hit wonder type of deal where, hey, all the right pieces came together that one season, a la like TCU, their rival, with the NIL funds in an ACC that, yes, there's Clemson, yes, there's Miami, but relatively speaking, it's more wide open. Very bullish on SMU. I called the Iron Skillet Bowl last year. That was super fun. SMU, TCU up in the booth in Dallas. That was cool, man. Last year for Luke Fickell at Wisconsin, what does he need to do? Yeah, year 3, man. It's always interesting because, in year 3, it felt like having 3 years was an automatic for head coaches like 10 years ago. Now it feels like the jump that we talked about in year 3 for coaches now needs to happen in year 2. I'm also very intrigued for a lot of the year 2 head coaches, like a Jed Fish at Washington, Jonathan Smith at Michigan State, Kalen DeBoer at Alabama. Like all 3 of those guys, big time names, tons of people really excited about them. Now you kind of need to do something with it. But year 3, yeah, that'll be interesting. My take on Wisconsin is, did they go too far in trying to, keep up with the offensive philosophy and cultural philosophy of what everyone else was doing, right? They got so much criticism for, hey, we're winning 10 games, but we can't get over the top. And maybe we can't get over the top because of our offensive identity where, hey, when everyone else is going spread offense, we're more in between the tackles, run right, run left. And it was like, hey, we got to be more explosive. But did they go too far? And the reality is that's just not them. And oh, by the way, you lose your competitive advantage, right? If you're a Big Ten team and you're loading up to play all these spread attacks, and then you got to change directions and play Wisconsin, which is a totally different philosophy. Does that help Wisconsin? And would you rather be a team that wins 10 games a year, but you're not necessarily being a national title contender, or would you rather be in the zone that Wisconsin's in right now? If this is the last year for Luke Fickell, it would not surprise me if they course correct and go back to the days of when they were recruiting athletic-ass tight ends, converting them to tackles, having the best offensive line in the country. And again, you'll win 10 games a year. You'll get one big primetime upset a year, but maybe you're not winning a national title. It wouldn't surprise me if potentially that happens there. Shout out to you, Skyman. Bryce, appreciate you, man. Good memories, dude, with that 7-on-7. You and the wife having a future Gatorade Player of the Year anytime soon? Dude, thank God I married someone who's more athletic than me, because all you guys know, man, I wasn't that dual threat. Action. My wife will help in that capacity. So I hope so, because I'll tell you what, if a future son plays quarterback, is football, and has my same skill set, he won't be a 5-star, because I think I was like the last class that valued pocket passers. I would have been a 4-star in this era because I didn't have wheels. VGB might help in that department. We'll see though. I live in West LA, and like as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that like don't really have tackle football. So we'll have to figure that out down the road, Lincoln Riley, you want to turn around yet at SC? Needs to, man. I do think USC will take a step. I think last year the losing 6 games in which you led in the fourth quarter, I think was an outlier. Like, yes, you can blame coaching, and yes, that's like there's truth to that, but it was so statistically an outlier that even if you get 1 or 2, even if you get 2 of those wins, I think the vibe on the season's a lot different, and I think they get back on track. I do, and all the recruiting, all the buzz. For those that don't follow it closely, the NIL has taken a huge turn the past 6 months. The recruiting's taken a huge turn the past 3 months. I think USC's gonna get back on the track to where they were kind of the post that first year with Caleb. How far does Michigan go first year with Bryce Underwood? I don't care how good you are. Starting a true freshman quarterback gives me concern. I don't know where Michigan's win total's at this year, but that's always like when I'm looking at betting lines, which, hey, guys, I was 67% against the line last year. So we're going to be doing some pick content this fall. Someone asked me about what content I got going this fall. We were dialed. I won my little pick 'em thing. We were locked in. Knock on wood. Hopefully we can continue that. But that's one thing of when I'm looking at lines, if a team's starting a true freshman quarterback, especially on the road, that's volatility right there. We get the average sports fan, I think, gets numb to, oh, he's a big time recruit. You know, he'll be fine. And we forget how difficult that is. So I don't know where Michigan's win total's at, but that's something that I would keep an eye on there. What is your opinion? What's in your opinion the best football game ever? Ooh, that's the best game ever. I mean, what comes to mind right away is Bama Clemson, the national championship game where Tua comes in. Patriots coming back from the Falcons, 28-3. Music City Miracle was amazing. The throwback, that was big time. There's a lot of good ones. Seahawks, Niners, some of those contests were big time. Yeah, that's a good question. Trying to ask pick questions. There we go. Good call. Caleb Calvary over on YouTube. Appreciate you, man. He's saying he's correct. This will be my final answer. USC versus Texas, Rose Bowl 2005. Final answer. I phoned a friend. Caleb, appreciate you. That's what we're going with. 1, 2, 3, fake 1, 2, 3. Didn't you say that last week? Brock Purdy, 4,500-yard season incoming. Yeah. Niners got some work to do. Nixon 5. Dude, I don't know about you guys. I'm a huge LeBron guy, huge LeBron bandwagoner. I might lose about 3 of you the second that I say that. Big anti-Warriors guy. Not about that. But the second the Lakers were out, I was like, I check out of the NBA playoffs. It sucks. How do you read cover 6 versus cover 3? Ooh, okay. Someone asked me, this is good. You guys were asking me about how it was facing Nick Saban's Alabama defense in 2016. This right here, they are as good of disguising when they're going cover 3 versus cover 6 as anyone that I've faced, anyone that I watched on a film, even as a backup. And right away, cover 3 and cover 6, 2 totally different coverages. Where you go with the ball in cover 6 is not where you're going with the ball in cover 3, which if you can disguise that coverage, that's where, ultimately a big advantage if you're able to confuse the quarterback. The guy that matters the most is the nickel defender. And where the safety's rolling, because cover 3, that safety's got to roll down. He's got to roll down into the flat. That's his zone. So if you can sniff out where they're rolling and use cadence and whatnot, which I just watched the Andrew Luck Barstool clip about the importance of cadence and like flashing your hands and whatnot. That's a big one. And then the nickel defender in cover 6, the nickel's defender will be inside leverage of cover 2. So it's a little bit of the cat and mouse game. You got to look at him because he's going to play with that leverage. He knows the keys that you're looking at versus cover 3. He's ultimately going to need to get to more head up to outside leverage. So that's something that you're always trying to use motion, use your cadence, use your hands to kind of sniff that out. And ultimately he's got to get to his responsibility. So that's the big difference there. One thing, talking about hot take, someone asked me about hot take. as a quarterback, I was an X's and O's guy, big, scheme guy. I think understanding the front is incredibly overrated as a quarterback. I'm going to get pushback on that from the old guard because it's always asked about, oh, quarterback's got to know everything. Quarterback's got to know the front because the front dictates coverage and all that. Dude, I'm telling you, a lot of the quarterbacks, man, they're not worried about front. Yes, it's a clue. Yes, it would be nice to know. There is so much freaking going on, and there's other ways to get clues. Understanding fronts as a quarterback, overrated. Is it important? Can it be important? Yes. Would it be nice to know? Yes. But to sit here and say, oh, 18-year-old quarterback just got to college football, man, you gotta learn fronts, man. Right now, you gotta learn all those fronts. Overrated. Football world, quarterback world will push back on me there, but bring on the smoke. ESPN had Cade Klubnik as the number 1 overall pick in 2 early mock drafts. Thoughts? Again, we're anointing guys too early. Cade Klubnik, good college quarterback. Cade Klubnik has the luxury of utilizing his legs to be a huge factor on money downs. That doesn't translate as well to the NFL. You got to be able to win from the pocket on money downs. Cade Klubnik can be in that conversation. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being. Actually, it would surprise me if he was the number 1 pick. Don't get me wrong. But he could be the top college quarterback, but his game's more suited for college. He's not there yet in the NFL. We're anointing guys too early. We're looking forward, trying to get mock drafts in place. We're anointing guys too early. Cade Klubnik's got a lot of work to do. Arch stays 2 more years, right? Unless Texas wins the Natty. I don't see him coming out. I don't even think the Natty ends up being a factor for Arch because I could tell the story if he wins the Natty. Hey, the prospects of going back to back, you might want to do that. I think he stays 2 years just from a sheer development standpoint. What will get interesting is if there's a first-class organization that's drafting number 1 overall, and do the Mannings look around and being like, hey, we want to go to the Rams because the Rams traded everything up to go number 1 or something like that. So let's dip out now and go to Sean McVay rather than taking our chances to fall and go with the Browns the next year. That to me is more of the conversation. If he's ready, he's ready. But I do think reps and starting and development in college is important. He has not played that much, even if his ceiling is so high that I'd expect him to come back for sure. The bad guy, your Turkey Bowl 1986. That's the best game ever. What's your guys' go-to Turkey Bowl jerseys? Mine was old school Favre jersey. Numbers painted on, not stitched, Green Bay Packers. That was the go-to Turkey Bowl jersey. What do you think about the CFP voting criteria, and do you think they should prioritize strength of schedule first? Great question. High level, I have no problem with the current playoff structure. I'm in the minority there. I do not like putting auto bids in because every year is different. There's years where the SEC is stronger than the Big Ten. There's going to be years where the Big Ten has 3 really good teams, and there's a huge drop-off at Team 4. I don't like auto bids. I think big picture, the subjectivity of what a committee doesn't bother me. I think we get all up in arms about it because there's not like strict guidelines. That doesn't bother me. I want the subjectivity. I want that my opinion might differ from your opinion, which might differ from another opinion. I want the fact that my opinion this year might be different than it is last year because the factors are different. There might be years where there's 3 legit ass ACC teams. Well, what happens if the ACC only has 2 auto bids? I think we got to put it on football fans and the committee to be level-headed, but I think there's a certain beauty in the fact that it differs every single year. So I have no problem with the 12 teams. Auto bid scares me. And that's not to say you can't keep putting in 4 SEC teams and 4 Big Ten teams every year. That's not to say that it might be difficult, but you might need to kick out ACC team number 2 every year if they don't have the strength of schedule and all that. But I got no problem with the 12-team structure. I got no problem with the subjectivity nature of the current scheme. So that's where I'm at. And I just worry that if you go auto bids, so let's say the Big Ten gets 4 auto bids. that means you could make the argument that means they're at a conference schedule. They won't be as fearful of losing that game, so they might schedule better games. Okay, I like that. I'm not totally convinced there. But again, you just run the risk of, are we paying more attention to who team 4 and 5 is rather than, hey, once number 2 and 3 are have secured their spot in the CFP, do we not care about their games as much in November? That makes me nervous, man. That makes me nervous. The bad guy. I appreciate you, man. First time checking you out. You're going to be okay. If you haven't subscribed over there, subscribe on YouTube, man. Going live every Tuesday and Thursday at noon. Hope to see some of the locals, man. We got Johan's always hanging out on YouTube. Appreciate you. And then Caden on TikTok. Appreciate you both, guys. What rules do you think they need for the transfer portal? They just need contracts in general, period. That's not just a transfer portal thing. They need contracts in general. That's where it's got to get to. So it's not a transfer portal specific thing, but that's where I'm at. Appreciate all the likes over there on TikTok, guys. What else we got? How many wins do you think USC will get this year? Let's pull up USC's schedule real quick because I get that question every single week. I say 8, which then USC fans are like, Max, what the heck, you hater? Can't do 8 wins. What are we doing? Well, look at the schedule, yo. Getting 8 wins in the 2025 Big Ten is no joke. You got Missouri State week 1. I'm saying that's a win. They got Clay Helton and the Georgia Southern squad coming into town week 2. The Fighting Heltons are going to be with their hair on fire trying to win for their head coach who got fired by USC. I think that game's close in the second half, but they get it done. So they're 2-0, 3-0 versus Purdue. Michigan State, keep your eye out for Michigan State. Year 2, Jonathan Smith. When he was at Oregon State was trash year 1. Took a step year 2. Aiden Childs, I think he's my low key, keep an eye on him. He's got some talent. I've never talked to a coach that was more high on a young quarterback than when I talked with Jonathan Smith when he was at Oregon State about Aiden Childs. I know he was a little bit all over the place last year, but keep an eye on him there. I'll go 4-0 for USC. They beat Michigan State. They have to go to Illinois. I'll say that's a loss. They're 4-1. They got Michigan. I'll say they'll win 1 between Illinois and Michigan. So they're 5-1. Notre Dame, they still got to go. They got to go to Notre Dame. That's tough. So I'll go, is that 5-2? Nebraska. I'll say between Nebraska, Northwestern, and Iowa, they lose one of those, the little Midwestern swing. So that's what? They lose 1. That's 3 losses. That's 7-3. Oregon, 7-4. They go into UCLA. They win that. I'm going to go 8-4 regular season. 8-4 regular season. Bowl game. What does that put you in? What bowl game does that put you in? Holiday Bowl. They'll go 9 wins with the bowl game. That's pretty fair, right? It's pretty fair. I'm telling you, it's only a matter of time. Here's, hot take. You guys asked about hot take. I think it's only a matter of time. I'll get it hotter. Next 2 seasons, a 9-win team gets into the CFP. 9-win team will get into the playoff in the next 2 years. Yup. Favorite QB you played with? Darnold was the homie. Kenny Pickett was the homie. Yeah, got love for those guys. Also, shout out some of the walk-ons, man. We got Jake. Jake was the homie at Pitt. I golfed with Holden. It was a walk-on for us at USC. I golfed with him a couple weeks ago. He's the homie. He's over there on TikTok sometimes. Connor Sullivan, Michael Bowman, Anthony Nyer, the homies, dude. Where did I play? I played at USC for 4 years, and I played at Pitt for 1 year. Any thoughts on Rutgers, man? I don't got no thoughts on Rutgers. People like them, though. I know that. What happened to DJU, man? It's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I'm one to talk. 5-star quarterback. You don't live up to expectations. I'll speak to it myself. One thing when I look back on my career of why did it not work out? It's funny. I think part of me, I'm a guy, I worked like really hard as like a middle schooler and a high schooler. I would go into quarterback training and I was very much like, this is the mission. And we're going to make it to the NFL and we're going to freaking do this thing. And the old quote of hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I was like, screw that. We're going to show up every week and I got this talent. We're going to work hard. That's going to be the equation. And I'll see you on the stage, Roger Goodell. But then what happens with that is I think I tapped into my ceiling quicker than prospects who actually rise. And I saw that firsthand with a guy like Sam Darnold, where he came into college a little bit raw. You know, I came into college a little bit more like polished and buttoned up and had the more strict fundamentals and things like that. And, you know, had an intensity and kind of a pressure that I put on myself. And that's why I'm a big proponent of guys playing multiple sports in high school and, you know, keeping it fun as long as you can, because the pressure of the position and the stakes of college football, society will crank that up on you. You don't need to do that yourself. But my point is, I think I tapped into my ceiling earlier than other big time prospects. Like I did that, you know, a lot of people wake up their junior year of high school like, oh, now it's time to work hard. Now it's time to learn the fundamentals. Now it's time to learn footwork. Shit, I was doing that as a 7th grader. I was like, it's go time, baby. And I think I tapped into my ceiling quicker than most, and it made me tap out maybe quicker, or not have as much growth to get into college level, which maybe made me not as high of a ceiling prospect as people may have thought when I was 17. If that makes sense. That makes sense? Let me know if that makes sense. I don't know. You should have a session with Todd Marinovich. I should, dude. That's a phenomenal, that'd be a phenomenal get. That whole ESPN doc would be cool. Yeah, I'm thinking about trying to do something around Jaden Maeva, USC starting quarterback this year. And it's interesting. I don't know about you guys, but for me, I feel like he's had, these are as little of expectations as USC fans have had on a quarterback in recent memory. Don't get me wrong. Jaden's a good quarterback. USC fans are hoping that he can take the next step. But think about it. Think about the buzz around Darnold the whole time. Think about the buzz around a Cody Kessler. Think about the buzz around a Matt Barkley. Think about even Keaton Slovis year 1 to year 2. Think about Jackson Dart. You know, relatively, the buzz is not as high with him compared to those other guys. But he was a Mountain West Freshman of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, something like that. So to bring in the Todd Marinovich thing, you know, it'd be cool to kind of talk to a lot of the old USC quarterbacks about the pressure and the expectations and kind of advice to Jaden when, don't get me wrong, he's got your USC quarterback. Don't get me wrong. The pressure's obviously there, but it's not to the level as a lot of guys. It'd be fun to kind of dive into the mindset there a little bit. Matt Barkley hype was nutso. Someone asked me the other week of like, forget how they worded the question, but you know, who was the best college quarterback or like most hype prospect that like people forget about or something? And my answer was Matt Barkley. Fun fact, he was a big reason why I committed to USC. I came in on the junior day, got the offer, came back a few weeks later. He took me to lunch at the campus center at USC, had a little lemonade chicken sandwich. We were just chatting, just me and him, and his selling pitch, because I was torn. I was like, do I go to Oklahoma? Do I go to USC? Funny for any Oklahoma fans there, Baker Mayfield was my class. So it's funny how that all that works out. But his selling point was like, hey, I'm a starting quarterback at USC. I'm sitting here having lunch and no one's bothering us because it's LA. And yes, he's a starting quarterback, but there's people with fancy pants last names and they're all sorts of cool people. Like, you know, they're not going to necessarily bother you at LA. It's a great life kind of thing. Versus if you go to Alabama or Oklahoma, we wouldn't be able to sit here and have lunch, just us two, was his kind of his point of like, you know, it's a little bit more, you know, relaxed and normal in that sense. Some people want the hype and all that, and they don't want to be able to go sit down in a restaurant kind of thing, but it hit in a certain way of just, you know, want to be a low key guy. I thought it was a good selling point by him that worked out. Greg, the Matt Barkley hype was insane. No doubt, man. That's what I remember. I remember as an 8th grader coming down to USC spring practice because my brother lived in LA. At that time, I was hoping I'd be a big-time recruit someday, but I didn't think that a USC offer was possible for me. I was a Seattle kid. Like, USC is like the peak, you know? And I remember 8th grade going into my 9th grade year, Joe McKnight was like the talk of town. And I remember watching Matt Barkley, and it was the chat of like, yo, this high school senior is about to be USC starting quarterback. And like, I couldn't believe it. And then fast forward 4 quick years later, I was the true freshman quarterback trying to replace Barkley, which is funny how that all comes together. Patriots Nation, why is that? Why is what? Sorry, my bad if I missed that. Veggie Boy, appreciate the like. Would you be more in favor of just teaching your kid to be an athlete early on? Oh, of course. Of course. And I don't think any athlete pushes back on that now. I think teaching your kid to be an athlete first and then specialize second is totally the way to go. Totally the way to go. I mean, playing hoops is more beneficial for your game as a quarterback, especially now, than just quitting basketball and doing footwork quarterback drills all day long. Obviously, doing both would be great, but staying an athlete, 100%, way more beneficial. To be his brother, so he chose football. My bad, I'm missing that one. Thoughts on sorry, I'm missing the questions there. Appreciate it. I'm going to go to the top of the hour. Reminder, I do this every Tuesday and Thursday at noon Pacific for an hour. Hang with you guys. Fun getting all these different contents out there. How did you develop relationships with teammates when you go into a new team or situation? Great question. My line with this is everybody speaks hard work, period. I don't care if you're from the suburbs private school. I don't care if you're from the inner city. Everyone speaks and then respects hard work. And if you're the hardest working dude in the room, you're showing up early, you're staying late, that allows you to have a platform where you have a voice and then can be a vocal leader kind of thing. That's not to be, holier than thou, but you can't say shit if you're not the hardest worker, period. Or you can, and you might get the respect of just your little posse, but there's going to be another side of the locker room that's like, screw this guy. He ain't about that life. And so I remember going to Pitt, and I'm the USC quarterback guy, right? I'm the blonde hair USC quarterback. Like, people might be thinking, hey, he's the Orange County guy. Like, he's coming in here. Is he going to be an absolute grinder? I made a point. No, you gotta work hard, because then everyone will respect you. And that coaches, players, administrators, the whole deal. And then also, especially for quarterbacks, I think it's important to be super wary of your clique. The teams that I was on that struggled with camaraderie across the board, it's because the best players and the vocal leaders were more cliquey, right? They had their squad, and it was kind of, we go to lunch, they're sitting with their guys, versus the best teams that I was on. It was much more of a hey, the starting quarterback can have lunch with the third string center, and it ain't weird. Starting quarterback, when he sees his homies outside of a party, he's bringing his homies in, because you never know, as a starting quarterback, you might need to rely late in the season on a freshman defensive tackle to get a goal line stand. That freshman defensive tackle will be better if he was looped into a party from the starting quarterback and he feels part of the squad, part of the crew. So I'd always encourage any, quarterback to be wary of that dynamic, especially if you're a high school kid walking the halls. You're a high school kid walking the halls, you see a sophomore defensive lineman, say what's up. And if you're walking with your hot girlfriend as a senior in high school, you're the hot shot quarterback, and you're walking and you say, "What's up, Timmy?" to the sophomore or freshman defensive lineman, the respect and credit and culture standard that you set on your team will have ripple effects, not only that season, but long after you're gone. 100%. Unrelated, but Sua Cravens was also a super hot recruit in the IE. Sua Cravens was my first roommate in college, the homie, dude. He just commented on my Instagram asking about what I shot at Oakmont yesterday. Good times, man. He was big time. Me and him, 2 of the 5-star recruits. That class was loaded with 5-star guys. It was me, Sua, Chris Hawkins, and Kenny Bigelow were the roommate package. First time at SC. Fortnite Fanatic, I'm not in Pittsburgh. I was in Pittsburgh Monday and Tuesday. I played in the U.S. Open Creator Day. Thanks to you guys for watching the content, liking. I got on their radar, and that was super fun. Played Oakmont, coming out with a video U.S. Open week. Keep your eye on it for Can I Break 90? I'm an 11 handicap, so I'm not trash, but I'm not a stick. Played Oakmont, the hardest course in the U.S. The rough was 6 inches long, crazy. But I was only in the Berg for 36 hours. Good to be back, though. Pittsburgh's pretty, man. West Coasters don't realize that. Pittsburgh's a good, but more it feels weird saying pretty, but a more pretty city than people realize. Stop over at the football facility to break bread with the football team. Sorry, I had to get back, man. Had to get back. Donovan, thanks for joining. Where is Hawkins coaching now? I think he's coaching the high school team in Orange County. I don't know where though. YouTube, we still got a handful of you guys holding strong. Appreciate you. Drop me a question if you got anything in the comments. Got about 50 more minutes here. I'm coaching my little brother's flag football team. Any tips for a 7-on-7 offense? I did a series last August of my 5 favorite football plays that I would install. Go back to July and August. I know it's annoying, but literally watch that content. That question is why I made that content. I got some concepts that are pretty dialed. Maybe I need to repost them and refresh that. Cover 1, right on cue. You're probably going to get cover 1. Just join. Thank you. But you're probably going to get a lot of cover 1 at youth football 7-on-7. My team, we ran no huddle when I was in 6th grade. It was awesome because if you get everyone with a wristband and kind of signal in the plays and create a system, you can make it happen. But go routes and swing passes. Money. Go routes and swing passes. Force little kids to tackle. That's the way to go. The Pope. Yeah, that's right. Pope news this year. Thoughts on Drake May, man? I'm a little bit more slow to roll on Drake May than others. I'm slow to roll on Drake May and slow to roll on Bo Nix. I think they're starting quarterbacks. Don't get me wrong; those franchises have every reason to be successful. But I'm not all the way in there to put them in the classification of like a Caleb or a Jaden Daniels. And I put Caleb still in the same bucket as Jaden Daniels because to me, if you put Jaden Daniels on the Bears last year, he's not having the success he had year one. Versus, I think if you put Caleb on the Redskins, I do think there's a world where Caleb lit the world on fire. I do think that's the realities of the situation. So I still put those guys in the same bucket. I want to see where they're at sophomore year. Drake May, Bo Nix. I want to see where they're at. I think, again, those franchises have every reason to be successful. J.J. McCarthy, though, a little bit more concerned. Was concerned with him coming out of college. He just hasn't been asked to carry the load at the quarterback position like these other guys have had. That's just the reality of the situation. I will say I've kind of checked myself a little bit because I trust Kevin O'Connell's intuition. And if he said, hey, Sam Darnold, here's the door. We're going to go with J.J. McCarthy. He must be seeing something behind the scenes that he really likes. But the true OGs, you know who my favorite quarterback is in that class, or the guy that I'm high on. Love Caleb, don't get me wrong. If you're a true OG, who's the name I just left out? That's my guy. I think he's going to be big time. Comment down below if you know who I am alluding to. It's the one guy I didn't mention in that first round class from last year. What's more likely to be better this year in college football, OU or USC? Love me some John Mateer. USC. Oklahoma's schedule is gnarly. I'm going to go USC. But if you don't know who John Mateer is, that dude is a baller. That was a huge get by Oklahoma. John Mateer, to me, he's right in terms of a college quarterback, he's right in the conversation with a Garrett Nussmeier, with a Lenora Sellers, with a Lagway. Those guys are all right there. Mateer is a beast. He is a beast. Hey, any good backyard brawl stories? Dude, I missed the backyard brawl. When I was at Pitt, we didn't have it. It wasn't on the schedule. That's how I know I'm getting a little old. I didn't have the backyard brawl. Thank you, Greg, for the one comment. No, the guy I was leaving out was Michael Penix. High on Michael Penix, man. I think Penix would have been the first quarterback taken in this year's draft. I was on record 15 minutes after the Falcons took him when the whole world was saying it was the dumbest pick ever. I said, nope, it was not. If you can get a guy who in a different draft would have been quarterback 1 and you can get him at the 8th overall pick. I know you just got Kirk Cousins off an Achilles, but you had a guy who was a number 1 overall type of quarterback fall into your pocket. You take him and you figure out the rest later on. Quarterback is the most important position in sports. Exactly. Patriots Nation. Michael Penix, baby. Nah, I appreciate it, Greg. Yeah, it's crazy looking back on that draft. 6 first-round quarterbacks. That's That's wild. Do you think USC or UCLA will develop rivalries in the Big Ten soon, much like Nebraska did with Minnesota and Wisconsin? It's a good question. And it's funny where my head goes out with that is how kind of the rivalry with Utah and USC was established from like 2015 to 2021. Like that got to the point where if you said, hey, the rivalry between USC and Utah, people wouldn't balk at that. They'd be like, all right, yeah, that's a rivalry. And then imagine if the Pac-12 continued. You see that in 2030, if Kyle Whittingham had stayed at Utah, like that could have been a legitimate like Pac-12 South rivalry. So to answer your question, I think it'll be USC first, just because USC is going to be better than UCLA year in and year out, and USC is more prestigious than the other team. So it's going to be USC with, USC Michigan, or hopefully USC Oregon, kind of comes into its own. But yeah, it'll be USC. Penix's accuracy was insane, especially in the playoffs at UW. Facts. One of the things that was most overblown about last year's draft was that, Penix just had these elite receivers and he was just kind of throwing the ball up, and it must be nice to have Rome Odunze. Nah, bro. His back shoulder game was elite. Yes, he was trusting those guys. Yes, those guys were making plays, but his deep ball game was elite. Exactly. Couldn't put it any better, man. What are your thoughts on Eli Holstein, Pitt starting quarterback? I think he's one of the most underrated quarterbacks in college football. I got that question 2 weeks ago. People don't really know about him. And the reason people don't know about him is because Pitt went 7-0, 8-0, no, 7-0, top 25 ranked team. They lose one game, and then Holstein gets hurt. And then what? Pitt loses 6 straight. So then you like look back on that season and it's like, Pitt didn't get it done. Holstein doesn't get hurt. That season could have gone a lot different. Holstein's a good quarterback. I'm not going to put him in that like NFL conversation yet, but don't sleep on Holstein. People forget, I forget sometimes, he started at Alabama. This dude's no joke. This isn't just a, guy that they found, local guy kind of thing, whatever. He's, wouldn't surprise me if he takes another step too. It's a good get by Narduzzi too. Thoughts on UNC and how you think Belichick's philosophy allies to college football? I am very hesitant on North Carolina. Very hesitant. I do not think Belichick's style from the NFL translates to college. I think communicating with college players who can back out and get into the portal is a lot different than guys who are paid under contract and it's my way or the highway from Belichick. And if you don't like it, then you're cut or you'll get out of here. It's not how college football works. The whole girlfriend thing is goofy and weird and just adds to that. But I had this take before the girlfriend shenanigans was going on. That only adds to it. I will say North Carolina has taken another step NIL-wise. Their roster, ACC-wise, is pretty solid. But I'm not there yet. I like teams like Louisville over in North Carolina. Pitt with Holstein's interesting. Virginia Tech in a year where they have to win or their staff gets fired is interesting to me. There's obviously Miami. There's obviously Clemson. Georgia Tech, again, they're there. So I'm waiting to see on North Carolina. What was your favorite throw to make? Seam or back shoulder? Definitely not back shoulder. I wish I practiced that more as a high school quarterback. Dude, if you're a big-time quarterback and you can, with your best receiver, which I should have done with Nick Splendorio, man, if you can like execute the back shoulder fade at high school, you're unstoppable. Unstoppable if you can do the back shoulder fade in high school. But my favorite throw, I was a go ball guy. Like that's such a classic answer. Give me a go ball. I felt like throwing with touch was, a strong suit of mine. Let me give you a better answer though. The corner ball, if you go slot, put a slot in the corner, meet you at the back pylon. I love that throw too. That was big time. Greg asked, which Greg, I appreciate you all the comments, man. Have you heard talks about the salary cap of around $20 million? Yes, I have. For what he's talking about, revenue sharing. It's likely coming to college football. All the schools are playing for it. I just played golf with one of my buddies who runs NIL for USC, and not that he's telling me anything that you guys don't know. It's public out there. It's all public out there. But teams are preparing for it. Basically, the difference is rather than players getting paid just from the collective, just from outside money, now this pot of $20 million will come directly out of the athletic department's budget, up to $20 million. The key piece that people are forgetting is it's not a salary cap. It's a salary cap in the sense that, like, hey, that's as much as we can take from the school's pot of money, but it's not a salary cap in the sense. TikTok's asking me to one sec to prove that I'm not a robot and making sure that I'm still here. But it's not a salary cap in the sense that schools can still dabble in collective. So what's going to happen is a school like Oregon will take $20 million from the athletic department's budget, and then they will also go use Phil Knight and Phil Knight adjacent's money from the collective. And so they'll have a budget of 30, 35, upwards of that to go get their roster, which is insane, but it's the reality of the situation. So as far as I understand it, it's not a salary cap in the true sense of the word. Very interesting. This whole Trump hiring Saban to put together a committee on how to save college football. I need to dive into the articles. There's a lot there. Very intriguing. To me, I don't really know what can be done, to be honest, but I got to dive into that. Patriots Nation, have you seen Brady's YouTube video about him throwing? Funny enough, it's literally in my save to watch later video. I was thinking about, like, hey, it'd be fun to kind of watch that video, react to it, and see what I disagree with or what I agree with. I'm not all in on Brady's little arm tucked in thing. I need to watch the video because I'm sure he explains why he does that. I've heard mixed reviews. I think there's a lot of people that say, hey, hand here and rip through and create that torque. Brady keeps like the front shoulder tucked, which I grew up with, hey, that was not allowing you to create torque. I think Brady says, hey, that keeps him in a more compact motion. Always funny, like, where people net out on two coaching tips that directly contradict each other. I find that fascinating. That's a good video too of, like, because there's things that I was coached on day one as a quarterback that are just not good now. I was taught, let me get a football 1 second. I was taught all high on the shelf. Like, that was a day one coaching point as like a little quarterback. Now that's like bad ball. It's bad ball from a ball security standpoint, right? If the ball's here, a defensive end coming from your blind side can knock the ball out and you're screwed. And then the new school age of football is, hey, when you're up here, you're very stiff and robotic. Let's be more relaxed and like athletic. So keep the ball down here from in the chest perspective. What was once a day one coaching point is no longer a coaching point. And then the other one is, it was big on throw over the top. Like, oh, if you're a quarterback, got to throw over the top, get over the top. Don't want the line to bat it down. Like, that was, again, day one coaching point. Nowadays, it's not day one, and it's not good, because if you throw over the top, and I was guilty of this, you're leaving power on the table. If you're a boxer, you're not punching from up here. You don't have any power there. You're out of system. You're not, that's not doing you any favors. But if you throw from the slot more, hey, where it's athletic, where it's comfortable, you can stay within system, be more compact, and throw more powerful football. So it's funny, again, those two coaching points, day one, like fourth grade roll to football coaching points, and just no longer the case. That is 1 p.m. though. I appreciate you guys hanging. I do this every single Tuesday and Thursday, unless I'm on an airplane. I was on an airplane last Tuesday and Thursday for an hour. For those of you guys on TikTok, check out the work on YouTube. We're rocking and rolling there. Really proud of the content I'm putting out there. Long form stuff. I know I've done short form for the past couple of years. Long form stuff, good little nuggets, and subscribe and follow if you haven't yet. But I appreciate you guys, and I will see you next time.